Well, good morning and welcome back. It's Life in the Higham house. And it is hot. We are in the middle of a heat wave. Actually, we're coming to the end of the heat wave. Hopefully it cools off in the next couple of days, but it is hot, which has not been very helpful for getting us out and working in the garden. We have a ton of things to do in the garden, got a ton of things to do with the chickens. Actually kicked off this week by saying we were going to do the whole chicken remodel. Well, it is so hot, we have not done a whole lot of work on the chicken coop remodel, just because it's hot. When I mean hot, it's way hotter than it usually is in this area for us. But everything seems to be doing very well. We got lots of things growing. We got lots of things that are producing. We've got peas and green beans, snap peas. Our wine berries have come in. The black raspberries are coming in. We've even got some little tomatoes growing on some of our tomato plants. Kale has done fantastic. Our red leaf lettuce is amazing. We've already harvested some of that and already put it in our salad. It was awesome. But we got more that we need to harvest, and we got chickens that we need to feed and water. So it's already almost 80 degrees, and it's only like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So we have to get moving, because it's going to get really hot really quick, and we're not going to want to be doing any work outside. So let me go and get the chickens taken care of, and then show you what I have done. We've made a little bit of progress with the chicken coop. I'll show you what I have done, and then show you some of the stuff that's beginning to fruit in our garden, just to give you a quick update. So first stop, chicken. So I know I keep saying it, but I am really excited about how well the chickens are doing. All 28 are just in fantastic shape. The teenagers, the little younger ones, the newer batch to the flock, they almost look like full-size adults. If you didn't know who they were, you might not be able to pick out the difference between what we would call our adult laying hens and our teenage soon-to-be laying hens, or pullets. Although they're not quite pullets anymore. I mean, they're almost ready to begin laying. In fact, if they stick to the cycle that we're following, they should start laying in about 2 or 3 weeks, which will be really exciting. But everybody looks to be doing really, really well. While we were away, our neighbor, who did an amazing job with our chickens and our garden, actually thought something was getting into the chicken coop, and there is some evidence of something trying to get into the coop. So we've made it our practice now to take the food out of the coop at night and then bring it back down in the morning. So that's what we were doing this morning, along with dropping off some scraps that they've already devoured. But I wanted to talk about what we did for our feed in wanting to create an easier way of taking care of the chickens. I think we shared that we went ahead with these buckets and these feeding spouts. And so the girls are sitting here going to town, because that's what they do in the morning. But I love these things because it came as a kit. You got a hole drill, or that cut out the hole for the feeder piece, and then you put it in, you screw it together, and you fill it up. But it's supposed to be a anti-critter feeding mechanism. And I think that's true for the most part, because we can then lift the buckets off the ground. We can suspend them from the top of the run, as you can see here. And the chickens do fine getting into it, but little critters, squirrels, chipmunks, mice, stuff like that, can't really get up in there. I think I have them up high enough so they don't get in there. But I think with like a raccoon or a possum or something like that, who has, the control with fingers and arms, they can reach in and probably scoop some out. Our neighbor said she was finding piles of feed underneath of the buckets, which would kind of reinforce that something's reaching up and in, pulling food out, it's dropping on the ground, and then they're eating it, something like that. So I actually went and lifted these a little higher, so now hopefully nothing can get underneath. But taking them out at night has been a big help. It's also helped us regulate our feed because we went through a ton of feed while we weren't here. And I think by taking the feed in at night, it helps to reduce the possibility of something else getting into the feed and eating it before the chickens do. But yeah, all of them are looking great. You can see this is only our temporary run. It's very kind of just once we get the new run taken care of, we will have our deep bedding back again. We will get wood chips, and everything that you see that is exposed ground now will all be wood chips. And that'll be a great place for the chickens then, for them to like scratch and move, and we'll also see some natural breaking down of their droppings and food scraps and vegetable scraps, and like we're going to bring our weeds down and our clippings from the garden. Chickens will have access to them. So things looking really good. Along with the food buckets, I think I talked a little bit about doing the water buckets, but we did them as well. Let me head over to here so you can see these guys. I like these too because we can fill these with water, and then these little trays do a great job. They fill, and when there's enough water, it stops filling, and it just sits like that. And I've had to learn that this needs to be higher as well, because what I've seen them do is as they scratch, they kick up the dirt, they kick up the straw and everything that's on the ground, and it goes into those little cups. And so I got to come down and clean up the cups. But I lifted these a little bit as well, and that seems to have resolved some of that. We get a little bit of stuff in there, but not nearly what we were getting. So that's all well and good. Chickens are doing good. We got to clean out their coop today, and hopefully we're going to finally get into this area right here. I actually went and built 2 more platforms. I'll show you those in a few seconds. That will be the base for the new chicken coop. And then I've been taking pallets apart, and I'll do some more of that today. And that'll give us the wood that we're going to use to surround or wrap our current coop to make it bigger, available for more chickens, and even a little more secure. Because once we get that in there and the chickens in there and it completely wrapped, I think it'll be that much safer for our chickens. But let me give you a quick garden tour because everything's doing so well. I'm so excited about it. So you can see one of the things that's come up really, really well here is our kale. And we've already cut a bunch of it back, but you can see that it needs to be cut back again. So we're going to go ahead and grab off some of the lower pieces of this. And we've enjoyed already taking this out and clipping it and putting it in our salad, giving it to the chickens. It's all been good. So the way that we trim these off is, as long as you don't top the plant, it'll keep growing. So like the top of the plant is right here. As long as I don't cut that, it'll keep putting out nice leafy pieces of kale here. And so what I'm going to do is just come down to the bottom and begin snipping off some of these larger pieces that are ready to go. And we'll just snip them off. I'm not going to take too much off of each plant. I kind of hit these earlier this week and took a lot off. So I want to be careful not to take too much and then leave them with not enough green on them. But you can see, just by taking off a couple there, these will all be new kale leaves here in a matter of a couple of days. So we'll just go around, snip off some of these here towards the bottom. It'll open up the bed here a little bit, because these guys kind of leaf out and take up a ton of space. But that'll allow water to get down into the soil. We got some mushrooms growing in here. We'll pull those out. We got some other unexpected things growing in here. We'll pull those out. And we'll just keep trimming back these kale leaves here. Now you can just snap them off. I've seen people doing that. Or you can use the scissors. But if you snap them off, you've got to be careful not to do damage to the plant itself, because if you do damage to the plant, it'll open it up for disease or what have you. And then you can see that one's one that looks like a bug has gotten to that. So that'll become chicken food. But the rest of these look really good. We'll snip off a few more here off of this one on the side. And I think we'll be in good shape here with the kale. And we have a ton of kale. Not even really sure I know what we're gonna do with all of the kale. But we'll figure out something and do something when the time comes. Now here on the other side, we have our red leaf romaine. And this stuff has just looked amazing. We've already snipped off a ton of this, but look how beautiful this is. It has a really nice taste. It's a little more bitter than lettuce, but when you put it in with your salad, you really don't notice a whole lot of difference in the flavor here. And we're gonna do the same thing we did with the kale. We're gonna snip off the leaves. Now, you could come in and just cut and take the whole thing with you. And that's probably how you would most often see it in your grocery store. They just come along, cut the bottom up, and you would get the growing piece, all of this here. But it'll continue to produce as long as you don't top the plant. Again, if you can look and see in here, that's the top of the plant. You can see all these new little leaves that are growing and coming up. So we want to keep those for a little bit longer. So we're going to let them be. And instead, we're going to come down and we're going to cut off these lower, larger leaves. And like the kale, sometimes it'll just snap off in your hands like that. And other times I want to use my snips. And again, what I'm doing is, if it snaps off in my hands, that makes it just super easy to take off. But it also says that it's ready to go, versus me cutting one off because I don't want to damage the stalk of the plant. I want this to be healthy, so I don't want to rip too far into it. Now I think some of these are going to stay. There you go, a couple nice leaves there. And then I did not trim these guys back here when we came home from vacation. So I'm going to go and pull some of those leaves off now. These will be a little smaller, maybe a little more bitter than usual, but they're still going to be perfect. Maybe something we give the chickens, because they would like these lower leaves a little better than, by taste, maybe than we would. So we'll just go and pull off a couple of these without doing any damage to the stem or the stalk. We'll just take a few more off. And again, I don't want to take too much because I don't want to hurt the plant in its future growth. We want to keep it growing. So we'll keep a few on there. And plus, I don't want to take more than what we need. If I have a bunch sitting around and I can't use it, well, then we end up just wasting all of this. But if I take only what we need, then we get longer production and less waste. So that's what we're going to do. Pull out a few weeds that have blown in here, I think. A huge green bean here. Now we did plant in this one, in the center of this, some green beans and some peas, and they haven't really taken off really that nicely in this garden, this raised bed. But look, there's a green bean. Look at that, it's beautiful. And we do a few pea pods that are ready to be picked, and so there you go, nice little pea pod there. And these are peas. These are not snap peas or sugar peas. Those are peas. But yeah, they're definitely growing, just not growing as well as where we have peas and green beans on the other side. But we got lots of space in here, and probably what I'll end up doing here very soon is we'll let these go a little bit longer, same with the kale, and then I'm going to end up probably pulling them out and then redoing some more. But I'll probably plant some first, get them growing, and then pull these other ones out. I don't want to let them grow too much. My experience has been the longer you let it grow, the more bitter it gets. And so we don't want super bitter leaf lettuce or kale. So we will harvest as much as we can and then plant some fresh stuff and then take these out and then start eating the fresh stuff. Kind of rotates the growing process here, and it allows me to kind of cultivate and change up the soil and keep it healthy too, because we're not just sucking all the nutrients out of it. We're adding things to it, we're freshening it up, we're keeping it healthy. So, and this soil here has been great. We did buy this soil because I didn't quite have enough sitting around to fill this all the way, and I really liked this soil. And I forget what it is I bought, but I think it's just like cheapy garden soil. I don't think it was anything super expensive or not a name brand thing, because I'm not into that. And eventually I want to be able to do my own soil, do my own compost. But for now, this has been great. It's healthy, and it's been allowing us to grow things in this raised bed pretty well. I'm really happy with the way the lettuce and the kale have get done. Kind of wish we did better with the peas, but that may be more my fault of not really setting the peas up here the way I should have. So, all right, let's get this stuff in the house. This is going to be a long vlog, I think. One of the plants that have done very well is this pea plant here. I mean, it is done phenomenally well. We've got great, healthy looking pea pods on it, and we start picking a few off. We've already, kind of tested some of the peas, and they're good. We love it. So we're going to just grab a few of the pods here that are kind of meaty enough that we want to, pull them off and get to the peas inside. Again, these can either snap off with your fingers or you can cut them off. I'm going to go ahead and cut them off only because I got these really fun new snips and I want to use them. And so we're just going to go through. I'm not going to take all of them. There are a bunch of here that aren't ready to get picked. If I leave them on another day or so, they'll probably get a little fatter and be ready to go. But I'm just going to look around, see what we've got, take the ones that are ready to go, and then move on. But super excited about this. And for the most part, these we will probably end up saving and freezing until we're ready to use them. Oh, there's a nice big fat one back here. Let's grab this one back here. Oh yeah, this one's ready. Yeah. I mean, look at that. The other plant I have in here is our green beans, and that has done very, very well. It's going to be hard to show you on the camera. I'm going to pan down so you can see it. You're not going to see me, you'll just see the flower or the plant. But our green beans have done really, really well. We came back from vacation and Amy was able to pick a good handful of green beans that we actually cooked up that night for dinner. It was awesome, and they were good. So we're going to check to see what we got here for the green beans, and I'll show you how they are as they come in. Okay, so for the green beans, I got to kind of zoom in pretty close here because most of them are growing here towards the bottom, and they're hard to see because of the way it's just coming in. But here we go. We got a couple right there. So like I said, Amy picked this pretty well earlier this week. So I'm not sure we're going to find a whole bunch of them in here. But when they're ready to come off, I mean, they literally come off in your hand. You just touch it and it comes off. So that's how I know it's ready to go. And it looks like we got lots of them starting. But we're going to have to come back a little bit later on, I think, to get the rest of those. Alright, so I think the last thing I want to show you as far as things that are growing and producing is our wineberry bush. Now, some explanation here. If you remember earlier vlogs, I was calling this our golden raspberry bush. When we bought our raspberry bushes a couple of years ago, we bought 2 raspberry bushes. We bought a black raspberry bush and then what the label was calling a yellow or a golden raspberry. And so that's what we thought we were planting. But now what's actually grown is a wineberry bush, which we're like, not sure really how that happened, other than someone just mislabeled something, or something blew in and planted itself and started growing. Either way, we have this beautiful wineberry bush. And I know I've been calling it our golden raspberry bush. Well, after we started seeing how it was growing, I did some research, got online, looked at a few other YouTube gardeners, and have learned a ton about this bush. So this is a wineberry bush used for, obviously you can make wine with it. It flavors wine. But you can also make jams. You can eat them as berries. They actually taste a lot like a red raspberry. They're a little more tart or tangy. I had one this morning and I'm like, I don't like berries, but I actually like this. So Amy was out earlier today and she already picked a bowl full of them. I'm going to pick just a few of them here to show you what they look like when they're ready to go. So I'm going to step away and then try to zoom in so you can see these raspberries here. So when these actually grow, they grow kind of like this up here. They have these really cool kind of like husks or calyx, I think they call them, or calyx. But inside that is the fruit. And as they open, this is what you get. So it goes from this husky, covered, protective kind of sheath thing to then you get these beautiful red sticky berries. And I actually found some really cool, fun, and interesting things about these and how they grow. And we're going to have these probably for quite some time. They're a biannual plant, which means that the first year a stalk grows, they are vegetative, meaning they have leaves, but they don't produce fruit. Year 2, they come back, and those first year stalks now produce the fruit. And it's self-pollinating. So I don't need to like have other things around it. It'll just kind of grow and do its thing, and we will get fruit, and we'll get a ton of fruit from year after year. So I'm gonna try to see if any of these need to be picked. If they're ready to be picked, they'll just come right off. Super easy. You don't really have to pull on them. They kind of just pop off into your fingers. They're sticky, they're firm, and they've got a nice little flavor to them. I'm not going to pick a ton right now because, like I said, Amy's already picked a bunch that we then have to freeze. And I think our plan for all of these is to eventually get enough that we can make a jam. And we're going to try our hand at making wineberry jam. See, when they're ready to come off, I'm just barely touching them and they're coming off in my fingers. I'm not really putting any pressure on them. They just pop right off. They're a little sticky to the touch, which is kind of a weird feeling. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty cool. And there you go, just a few for you to kind of see. And those are our wineberries. So I think this vlog is already going longer than I wanted to go, and I really didn't get to doing any of the things I wanted to do. I did share some of the garden, update you with the chicken stuff. But I do want to show you, we have been working on the chicken coop setup. And my idea is, because that ground down there is so unlevel, we are building a platform that the coop will sit on that'll give it a level and stable space to sit. With the platform, it'll also be something that will help make it more challenging for anything wanting to get to the chickens to get to the chickens. Like, my goal is to build an almost impenetrable fortress for them because we don't want to lose them. Like, our hope and our goal is that these chickens lay eggs and we can sell and share the eggs that they lay. So I don't want to lose them. We got 28 of them. We're putting a lot of energy and time into them. I want to make sure they survive. So in the midst of the heat, we were able to come into the garage and build 2 more platforms. I already got one sitting down there with the chicken coop. I have 2 more that we just put together. And so basically all that we're doing is taking these larger pallets. This is like 48 by 40. It's like 40 across and I think like 48 on the sides. We've stripped off the pallet boards from other pallets that aren't quite this size, and we just kind of re-drilled them. And I had to do a little trimming on the side over here so that they're even, but we were able to do 2 more pallets that will be what will be the base or the floor for the chicken coop. Now I know this goes against a lot of what some say, you know, having a mobile coop, having their droppings drop on the ground, using it in your permaculture, tilling it up. I want to do all of that, but I don't have the space to do a mobile coop. We have half an acre. We're already planning on getting meat birds. Meat birds are going to be the birds that we move every couple days. That alone is going to take up a large portion of our lower yard. So for our chickens, I'm not going to have the space to be able to move them around every couple of days and give them fresh grass. We just don't have that big of a property. Someday I hope to have, you know, a number of acres and have more of a working homestead farm. But for now, I'm working with what I have. So our chicken coop is going to be permanent, which means we are going to have to clean it out. But we're going to make things in such a way that even though I have to clean it out, it's going to be an easy clean. It's not going to take me all day to like rake out the droppings. We'll still use the droppings in composting. We'll still use them in flower beds. It's just we won't have that mobile paddock system that I see a lot of homesteaders using that I really want to use, but we just don't have the space for here. So I have to build 1 more platform. I have to go and find some more pallets. Got to build 1 more platform, and then I have all of this wood. Sorry, the garage is an absolute mess because we came back from vacation. I haven't put anything away yet, but we have all this wood over here that will also go to the coop remodel. So what I love about it is all these pallets were for free. I went down to our local Royal King. They have a place in the back of their store with free pallets. Usually they're the ones that are broken or damaged and they can't reuse them. I actually lucked out and found a number of pallets that were in great shape, and that's how we're able to do this. But all of the rebuild, I even think I'll have enough wood left over to build, or at least a portion of, our meat bird tractor, which is going to be really, really cool. I get enough 2x4s. I think we cut them down to size. We'll be in good shape. We can build them. All I'm going to have to do is get some meshing and some roofing, and that'd be really, really cool. So, all right, guys, longer vlog than I anticipated. Sorry about that, but we got a lot of things going on. I want to sit and try to come up with a better way to organize the content for these. With everything growing in, everything coming into, you know, fruit season, I just get excited about it, and I want to share it with you guys. But we've got more planting to do because we got to start our next round of things like kale. I am not giving up on lettuce, even though it's really late in the season to start lettuce. I'm going to try to do some lettuce because we eat lots of salad, and I want to have salad. I also want to grow some things that we can use for the chickens in the way of feed. So things like cabbage, lettuces, things like that. I want to grow some of that stuff so we can use it down there. So there are still a few more things I want to plant. There are a few more things I want to do. We're waiting to order 2 more raised flower beds or garden beds because I really like them. They're super easy to use, and I think because of where we are in our setup, they would be the best thing to have for us to do more garden beds in the yard without doing the whole digging up the entire backyard. So with all that said, tons of content coming. I'll try and get more organized. I'll try to make it more succinct and more storytelling for you. So hang in there with us. Make sure you come back. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Ring the bell. We've got vlogs coming every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, hopefully for the duration of the summer. So yeah, outside of that, we'll see you next time. And hopefully in the next vlog, we're actually building our chicken coop. I gotta wait for the heat to break. It is just, I mean, look at me. I am soaked. My hat is soaked. It is so hot. I'm moving indoors to do projects indoor today. So hopefully next week things are cool. Wow, flies. They know I'm sweating. Anyhow, I gotta go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here at Life in the Higham House. Later.